Welcome back to Mountain News at 4:30. There is a major update about the USA drone port here in Perry County. A new partnership was announced that will help tell the drone port story around the world. WYMT's Lacey Roberts is at Hazard Community and Technical College with more.
Yes, the USA drone port is really taking off again, not only with partnerships with Embry-Riddle University in Florida, but other four-year universities as well. Now, the Unmanned Systems Technology program here at Hazard Community and Technical College provides online and hands-on learning in aerospace technology. But with a new partnership, more can be done. In the works, a new building designed for drones to undergo various weathering and challenges to put them to the test. And not only for college-level education, but in high school as well. Bart Massey, director of the program, says the possibilities are endless.
Maybe you have a battery. It's not even meant for drones, but maybe it's a battery that's meant for all weather stuff, and they want to bring it in and test it in our environment. So it won't just be for drones, it's going to be for a lot of things.
Massey says not only does this bring new technology to the mountains, but also a workforce to be reckoned with. For now, in Hazard, Lacey Roberts, WYMT Mountain News.
HCTC is also holding bi-weekly webinars with educators across the country about this new partnership. We'll have more tonight at 6.
We've seen some sunshine today, but we've seen a lot of clouds as well. Some areas have seen a few more clouds than others, and we'll go ahead and take you up to some of those cameras. As we look over into Moorhead, they've kind of seen that perfect mixture of sun and clouds throughout the day, a little bit gloomy at times, but at least they have seen that nice sunshine. And as we look on top of Jackson right now, 71 degrees with that mixture of sun and clouds. Overall, not looking too bad over there, and very comfortable with those pretty cooler temperatures, especially compared to where we've been. Some areas, though, like Moorhead, Lexington, Irvin, you can see you guys are into about the mid to upper 70s. That's because you've seen a lot more sunshine today compared to Pikeville, Wise, Harlan, Jonesville, even Middlesboro, who haven't even made it into the 70s today. So kind of a wide range of temperatures across the mountains. You can see it's because of that cloud cover that's been sticking around. Those rain chances have stayed over into parts of Virginia and West Virginia, but some stray rain chances for some of those counties, and possibly even a little bit into Pike County. You guys might have seen just a few stray rain chances throughout the afternoon. Now, as we head into the next few days, well, the rain chances are going to continue. The cooler temperatures also stick around for your Wednesday and a little bit into your Thursday, but after that, we're going to see that heat and humidity return pretty quickly. I'll have a look at your forecast coming up in a little bit.
All right, thank you, Paige. A coronavirus model used by the White House now projects more than 200,000 Americans could die of COVID-19 by October 1st. That is up more than 30,000 since last week. CBS's Manuel Bajorquez reports from Miami, where infections are on the rise.
Now is not a time to let your guard down.
Miami Mayor Francis Suarez put the next phase of his city's reopening on hold.
We are seeing an uptick, particularly in the age demographic 18 to 35, and particularly after Memorial Day weekend.
Statewide, about 12,000 Floridians have tested positive over the last 7 days.
Most likely we're going to start to see an increase in the hospitals.
June Ellis works for one of the state's largest public health systems.
What is the situation like at Jackson Health right now?
We have started to see an increase again in our COVID positive patients.
Since June 1st, hospitalizations have risen in at least 11 states, including Texas, which reported more than 2,300 hospitalizations, a record high for the 7th time in 8 days. And 20 states reported increases in their average new COVID-19 cases compared to 2 weeks ago.
So many people.
At the White House, President Trump attributed the rise in cases to an increase in testing.
That's probably the downside of having good testing, is you find a lot of cases that other countries who don't even test don't have.
But in several states, data show that's not entirely true, according to Professor Wade Fagan-Olmschneider, a computer scientist at the University of Illinois.
The data comes directly from Johns Hopkins, and it doesn't do any projection at all. Even though we're seeing the same or sometimes even more testing, the number of positive cases we're seeing in those regions is actually increasing at a rate far exceeding the number of tests increasing.
Manuel Bajorquez, CBS News, Miami.
On a call with governors yesterday, Vice President Mike Pence encouraged state leaders to attribute spikes in new cases to the, quote, magnitude of the increase in testing, but provided no evidence to back that up. The Hazard Bulldogs, like many other teams, are getting started with workouts, but the Bulldogs also locked up their new head coach. Former assistant Dan Howard will take the reins. Howard was an assistant under Mark Dixon for 13 years before sliding into the head coaching role this week, which gives the Bulldogs some continuity and makes the head coaching transition a little smoother.
Pretty excited when I told him yesterday that I was planning on being the head coach and that I think I'd had the job. All these kids I've had since grade school. I did elementary PE. I've done that for 13 years, and all these kids I've had since kindergarten. So I know all these kids. I know their families. I know where they're from. I know all their backgrounds.
Howard is also the principal at Roy G. Everso Elementary School in Hazard. What started with a kidnapping led to a chase, then a shootout, and a call for people to stay in their homes. That chase started in Madison County. It ended in Lincoln County. WIMT's Phil Pendleton has more on how it started and ended.
Police tell us that the chase actually started very early this morning here in Berea, but most of the drama happened where it ended in Lincoln County. Now, Stanford police say the chase started in Berea just after 1 o'clock this morning. Police pursued a kidnapping suspect into Rockcastle County and then into Lincoln County. The suspect crashed his pickup truck behind a home on Edgewood Drive in Stanford, and Sheriff Kurt Folger says that's when he fired at police. Police returned fire, but no one was hit by the bullets. About 30 rounds were fired. The kidnapping victim was then rescued. About that time, people in that area received a call put out by emergency management for them to shelter in place. A short time later, the man was found inside a home that was under construction.
I have to give credit to all the agencies. Everything was perfect. I mean, you know, no one was hurt. We caught the bad guy and couldn't ask for no better outcome.
In between that shootout and when this subject was finally apprehended, we are told that Bobby Johnson caught him trying to break into his home in Madison County. Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
We are still waiting to hear back from police on who the suspect is and what charges he is facing. It was the 19th consecutive night of protests in Louisville last night following the shooting death of Breonna Taylor by Louisville Metro Police Department officers. Protesters blocked traffic on 6th Street between Liberty and Jefferson. The group gathered rocks and road signs to create their own barricades. Police kept their distance in the sky and on the ground and encouraged people to stay out of the area. Interim LMPD Chief Robert Schroeder says he encourages the protests to remain peaceful.
We know most of the people coming in each day simply want to be heard. We all need to ensure those who would seek problems don't have that opportunity. We want to make sure everybody is safe.
At least 9 people were arrested. At one point, police say a brick was thrown into the window of a WLKY camera crew's car. Protesters were demanding the arrest of the 3 officers involved in the shooting death of Taylor. A Senate hearing examining police use of force is now underway on Capitol Hill. Earlier, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to incentivize higher policing standards. CBS's Skylar Henry reports from the White House.
Law enforcement officials flanked President Trump as he signed a police reform executive order in the Rose Garden. The order encourages police departments to collect and track excessive force complaints. It has incentives for police to update their training certifications, and it employs mental health professionals to work with police to respond to some incidents.
Today is about pursuing common sense and fighting for a cause like we seldom get the chance to fight for.
The president also met privately with African American families impacted by police brutality or racially motivated civilian violence, including the family of Ahmaud Arbery, who was gunned down while jogging in Georgia.
There certainly were tears flowing in the room, but we're hoping that beyond the emotion of it, that it will lead to significant policy change.
The president is looking to Congress for more comprehensive action on police reform. Hours after the executive order signing, a Senate panel convened a hearing on police use of force.
There is a movement being led by people who might appear from the outside to have little in common, who are marching together to demand an end to the black blood that is staining the sidewalks of our country.
The House is expected to vote on its legislation next week, but the Senate is not expected to vote on its bill until next month. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
The executive order lacks a legal enforcement mechanism to require police departments to follow its guidelines. In a statement, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called the order weak and said it falls sadly and seriously short of what is required to combat the epidemic of racial injustice and police brutality. The city of St. Louis removed the statue of Christopher Columbus from its historic Tower Grove Park. The statue was placed in the park 140 years ago and is one of just 7 National Historic Landmark urban parks in the United States. City workers hauled the statue away this morning, but there is no word yet on where it will be taken. There is a growing call across the nation to remove public statues with ties to slavery. 3 days, that's how much time voters in Georgia have to fix their absentee ballots. This, of course, comes after the mess that was last week's primary there, with long lines, problems with voting machines, voter confusion, crowded polling places, fewer election staffers, and inadequate training for newly hired workers, not to mention allegations of voter suppression. In the case of the absentee ballots, if something was wrong with the ballot, that voter should have gotten a notice by the close of business after Election Day. Last week, Democrats filed a lawsuit against the Secretary of State and members of the Georgia State Elections Board. North Korea sent a strong message to South Korea after tensions between the countries continue to increase. North Korea burned down a joint office once used for mediation between the neighboring countries. The latest rise in tensions follows North Korean defectors sending leaflets across the border criticizing North Korea's Kim Jong-un. In response, North Korea cut all communications with the South. Political experts believe the North's recent actions are meant to divert attention from issues within the country.
We know that over the past few months, Kim Jong-un's health has been put into question. We know that despite North Korea saying that it's COVID-free, it always has been COVID-free, we know that these claims are being increasingly disputed. And we also know that North Korea's economy is taking a severe toll.
Experts warn without any diplomatic involvement, further escalation could occur. This means possible new North Korean missile tests. Straight ahead here on Mountain News at 4:30, a woman beats the odds to become the first woman to graduate from an industrial maintenance program from an Eastern Kentucky community college.
And we'll see a few more scattered showers heading into your Wednesday and really into the rest of your work week. I'll have a look at that forecast coming up.